Good evening, folks. We'll go ahead and get started, call our meeting to order. Mr. Brown could not be here. He is battling snow on a hunting trip, so we wish him luck. It is our custom that we open our meeting with prayer and pledge. We're going to ask Mr. Ellis to do our prayer and Mr. Walker to do our pledge. If you will stand.
We do need to take time out of our days just to say thank you. Thank you for all the blessings you give us. The beautiful scenery that we can see, even though it's very cool today. I'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to get together and plan for the county, lead us and guide us, and have us do what's best for our county. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you've had the opportunity to read your minutes and
Make a motion to approve the minutes of church.
Second.
move to second, all in favor?
Aye.
And we have approval for the agenda.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I want to do an addition to the agenda tonight. We've heard a lot about homelessness in the community, and I had a gentleman approach me and wanted to know what the county was doing in regard to the opioid settlement money in regard to homelessness. So I'd like to ask the county manager to give us an update on that.
That would be under new business.
Yes, under new business.
I second that.
Move to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, before we start with tonight's agenda, I want to take just a minute and recognize any veterans that might be with us this evening. If you are a veteran or currently serving in the military, would you please stand? Never want to forget sacrifices that our veterans and our families have made for our freedom. Okay, on appointments, Recreation Center renovation grant approval. Mr. Wood, you will lead us off with Mr.
Really quick, cover very well. This is a grant that was identified. Well, there's been a lot of work happening on the outside of the rec center property here in Marion. We didn't have quite enough to do some work on the inside that we would like to have done really for a number of years. And so this grant, state grant's been identified and shared it with Mr. Kazee, and he is running with the opportunity as far as putting together project concepts and have a lot of good ideas with it. So part of the application is presentation and approval tonight. So he's done a great job.
Mr. Kazee.
Good evening, thank you all for having me. Tonight I'm going to provide you information on the grant that I'm currently working on to improve the facilities of McDowell County Parks and Recreation. But before I get into the details of the grant, I want to provide you all with a quick update on my department. So our NRA Basics Fiscal course was a success with 8 individuals taking part in the course. We received overwhelmingly positive feedback on the course, with many of the attendees asking when the next course would be offered. Our new basketball division, First Basket, saw 40 children register for the season. This is our new division for children aged 4 and will serve as an instructional league. Our youth basketball league saw a new high in registrations with 789 children. This surpasses the previous high of 760. Hurricane Helene repairs at the Black Bear Campground Park have continued with grant funding being used to remediate damaged trails and remove downed trees along the park. The next item in repairs will include erosion control on the bank near the fishing pier. In collaboration with MTA, we have successfully completed all items needed to designate the Fauna Flora Trail at the campground. We're just awaiting the official site visit. The Maple Leaf Playground received a new paved parking area, replacing the gravel lot. The next item on the project will be the installation of the vault toilet on site. These items are funded as part of the playground grant, and the Hemp Hill Park entrance road will be widened to allow for a better flow of traffic. It is part of the ongoing projects that we have to improve the quality of life for our citizens when they attend our facilities. Now, getting into the grant, some background on the grant. The Rural Downtown Economic Grant is offered through the Department of Commerce and is designed to help local government and governments invest in infrastructure such as community facilities. They offer up to $850,000 with a 5% local cash match. The total eligible award is dictated by every job created or retained within a designated area. The only facility I have that falls under this would be the Recreation Center on 25 Academy Street. And following the guidelines of the grant, I was able to account for 40 jobs within the designated area. These 40 jobs would add up to roughly $500,000 in potential grant funds. With this information, I compiled a list of proposed additions and renovations. That list was cut down to these 5 items after speaking with representatives from the grant. The first item targeted for improvement is the replacement of the interior and exterior doors at the Recreation Center. The doors currently at the Recreation Center are in need of replacement, with many of them not being up to code. As you can see pictured here, the doors will not properly close. You can see the red doors there. My plan would be to replace all the doors in the facility, bring them up to code while also making them ADA compliant with handicap push buttons at the main entry points of the facility. Next on the list of improvements is the glass atrium replacement. As you can see by the pictures here, the glass windows are compromised. This has led to windows leaking and becoming very unsightly with no way for our staff to properly clean. In addition to this, the windows would need to be replaced as part of the exterior door replacement to ensure proper seals. Next on the list of improvements would be the ADA bathroom remodel. The bathrooms at the Recreation Center are in dire need of a remodel. The restrooms in the current state are not ADA compliant. As part of the grant, the bathrooms would receive a full remodel to ensure ADA compliance, along with improving the appearance of the restrooms. Next, continuing the list of improvements, the next item would be the replacement of the hallway flooring in the atrium. The hallway flooring in the atrium is faded and warped in sections. As you can see in the picture above, the floor has faded so much it's completely different colors throughout the hallway. You can see the first picture is the main entrance, and the second picture is the same location, just spun around facing the back. The rest of the hallway, you can tell it's 2 different colors from how much it's faded. As part of this grant, I'll look to install a slip and fade resistant flooring in the hallway, greatly improving the appearance of the entryway while also making it safer. The final item on the list of improvements is the replacement of the gymnasium floor. The current gymnasium flooring has some sections that are beginning to bow, as you can kind of see in the first picture, along with some dead spots under each basket. These issues are not currently safety issues, but always have the potential to become one later down the road. As part of this replacement, the floor will also be lined for volleyball and pickleball lines in addition to the standard basketball lines. This brings us to the estimated costs of the project. As you can see, estimates have been obtained for each of the items that we just discussed. This results in a project cost of roughly $318,733. The 5% local match is estimated to be $15,937. As you can see, a lot of work can be completed with a comparatively low cost to the county. So I've already completed most of the items on this grant. Today I'm seeking a resolution committing to the project along with a 5% local match that would come from my current budget.
I make a motion to approve and authorize the resolution.
Have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Kazee, I do want to tell you that since you have been the director over there, you've done a wonderful job. Our facility over there gets used every day. A lot of people have commented on the improvements that you've made, and things have been going on since you've been the director. We appreciate it.
And also, Aikman, I want to say the focus on handicap accessibility to any of our facilities is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have our introduction of the new health director and public health update. Mr. Wood.
Jason Masters, who is our district health director. He's been on the job, what, maybe so, Mr. Masters is no stranger in McDowell County. He was the environmental health director before for that, and did a great job with that area, and really got that operation, I'll say, straightened out, and so really turned things around when he was in place there. So he's doing a good job from my perspective there.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. I appreciate that. Thank you all for having me here. I'll give you a little background about who I am. I'm from Mitchell County, so just right next door. Went to East Tennessee State University. I have a degree in environmental health. Started in Cleveland County in 2000 as an environmental health specialist. In 2002, I moved to Buncombe County, where I stayed for the next 17 years, doing environmental health work, septic system permits, restaurant inspections, the whole gamut. In 2019, I got the opportunity to come here. You all remember environmental health in 2019. Mm-hmm. You probably don't, but you've heard. And we did get that straightened out to some extent. There's really no straightening out of environmental health, but we did all right. Just as a side note, environmental health backlog is still about 3 weeks behind right now, so we're still in pretty good shape. In 2020, I became the assistant health director. And then at the end of 2024, I got the chance to move up to the interim health director spot. And on July 1 of this year, I became the official public health director, thanks to the Board of Health. So, what I want to tell you is a little bit of the things that we're working on at the health department right now. Most notably, we are working on establishing and strengthening relationships with other county agencies, most notably emergency management and McDowell County Schools. For emergency management, we watched them during COVID. They did a fantastic job, and Helene also. The health department at that time kind of was in the back seat, and we watched emergency management in awe. You know, they did fantastic. But we also kind of realized that they were probably understaffed for some of the smaller things that needed to be done because they were focusing on the big stuff. We want to fill in those gaps. And some things that we think we can do, we are working toward more communication coordination. We've got our public information officer set up with Mr. Keller. We think that we can provide a more unified front going forward with certain particular messages for safety and for public health. Kind of act as a force multiplier for that. We also, we had a discussion, Will and I had a discussion about resource sharing, and as we talked, I realized that he would be the one doing the sharing. We have one mobile unit, so he realizes that. But the offer is there for us to move out into the community, take our trailer where we need to go. Additionally, we can act as a staging area, if nothing else, due to our proximity to the hospital. And so we can offer all that up, and we're happy to do so. Further, in the event of another large-scale response, like Helene, we are working on creating and implementing an incident command structure for our staff. So the minute that an EOC is activated, our staff will know exactly what to do and where to report. That way it's not this kind of confusion where everybody's kind of bumping into each other, wondering where to go. As far as the school system, we have met with Dr. Britt and his team. We are working on developing a series of presentations that are customized for each tier of schools, so elementary, middle, and high school. And just very quickly, I'll kind of run through some of those. For elementary, we want to talk about basic hygiene. We want to come into the schools and talk about these things. Basic hygiene, nutrition, and exercise. Middle school, we want to talk about mental health and emotional regulation, hygiene and puberty. And then in high school, we want to talk to the kids about signs of anxiety and depression, communicable disease, food safety, protection of groundwater, these kinds of things. Additionally, we are working on developing a relationship with Toad River Health District so that when we push out public health messages, we can be 4 counties strong instead of just our 2. And that's pretty much it. There's a lot more going on, but that's what I figured that you would be interested in hearing about.
I appreciate the fact of you looking forward and putting programs together to go into the schools. That really supports our school system.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
I get to serve on the board with Jason, so I do appreciate everything that you do.
I appreciate everything you do. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to old business. Mr. Woodler, water system project updates.
Yes, sir. It sounds like a broken record on some of these projects if there's not a lot of progress, but we are seeing some progress on our the development of our water system throughout the county. I'll start in the Nebo area. I've mentioned what we call our East End project, which is around the Marion Lake Club area that has been underway for now about 3 months, and it's scheduled to be completed in April. This is a very complex project because, again, all grant funding that we've received here that is paying for the main lines that run out beside the roads, but also the plumbing that will connect that main line to the property owners' homes. And that we've seen that before where it all depends on the quality of the contractor you have. Hopefully they're doing a good job and we stay on top of them. The engineer does that as well. And so far so good that it's gone relatively well for the sections we have initiated. The hard part is not started yet, where the roads are a little bit tighter and the homes closer together. So that will be happening over the next several months. And then again, as we're able to certify those sections of that system, we'll be able to be turned on. And very exciting for those folks. And for us, it's about, I think about 80 homes or so that will be connected out of that. So it's good all around. Our Nebo Phase 2A and 2B are under construction and winding down. We are probably within the last few weeks of that project. I've spoken with the city manager and their finance director about switching over some existing city customers as part of this project to our system. And some of that, maybe all of it, is based on where we are, through cooperation, building new lines where they had prior lines for at least 2 of the areas. And then there is one area where the city is transferring maintenance, ownership, and control of an existing water line. And so we're making contact with those customers. It's about 45 or 50, letting them know they'll be county customers. Probably January is when they'll get their first bill from us, but that will be a transition over. They'll have water throughout the holidays, of course, but it'll be a transition with our partners here at the city. Phase 3, which is primarily on Randolph Road, that has been bid and will be opened in December, which is good. And then a small project there on exit 90, an environmental review that's starting to wind down. Shifting gears over to the area on Sugar Hill Road toward West Marion Elementary. I mentioned, I think last month, I had the 90% plans. We're winding up the review on that at the staff level. Engineers also doing an environmental review of the project. As I think I told you last month, that'll take about February, March for that's done, which is around the time that we will find out on the grant application we submitted at the end of September. At that point, we will know if we have the funding to do Marlow Road and Zion Hill Road. So hopefully we get the grant, fingers crossed, and we'll have all the environmental done, and we can just more or less go to bid late spring perhaps. So fingers crossed for all that. And again, based on your direction, if we do not get that grant, we'll probably be back in here asking to reapply, but we'll just keep on trucking with the effort to get down to the school.
Will we be doing a phase 1 for going to the school and a phase 2 for Zion Hill and Marlar? Because I feel like that if we wait, we're going to wait, and then we may get it, we may not. If we don't, then it's going to be waiting more. And I would prefer to go ahead and get the phase 1, go ahead and get quotes on it, since we've got the majority of the engineering aspect done.
That environmental I mentioned, we have to wait until that's completed before we can go to bid. And that unfortunately won't happen until around February, March.
Okay.
And so it wasn't
Makes
done
sense.
on purpose
Yep.
to try to do it that way, but the timing of it,
All right.
the second to work out.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we wouldn't exactly do that. We're doing an asset inventory and assessment project with our engineer. They have started to do some mapping of our current system. They are doing, they will go out and do field work and assessment of where water valves and hydrants and everything else is, and make sure, even though our system is relatively new, the oldest parts are from the mid-90s, people have moved on and changed. They want to make sure, we thought that was ductile iron, it actually is. So we'll be doing that over the next, really about the next year. And then the last item, there's a partnership grant I've talked about that came out of Helene for the city, town, and county and how to work together on disaster response and other partnership opportunities for utility planning and system maintenance. And so this will be an effort coordinated by the Environmental Finance Center out of UNC School of Government. And we're trying to find a time, probably in January, that they can send somebody here and do a couple hour type workshop. I think they would do maybe 3 different meetings or workshops with the 3 communities on how to better work together. And again, it might have a narrow focus on disaster response, but it could lead to other discussions about cooperative billing or different things. So this will be something that will have commissioner representation at. So we'll get some dates that work for you.
I like the thought of the partnership grant, looking into that. Also, would that also consider, for an example, water capacity to supply different areas of the county?
With the focus specifically, I think, on Old Fort, because we hear all the time that they've got unlimited capacity, and yet they don't know their capacity. So I think in long-term planning, to tie into what Patrick's saying, with the county having a dedicated land that's been permitted for a water filtration plant to the lake, currently the city's drawing off 2-3 rivers, streams. We've got a lake. It would behoove all 3 entities to do some long-term planning and just see the need of a partnership for a water filtration plant, or does Old Fort have enough to cover everybody down below them? I think that we really need to do some long-term planning with the grant for the citizens. That way we got the money available and it's free money to plan. So I think we need to focus strongly on that.
And the capacity of the current pipes that are existing.
Yeah.
What is that capability, and can we get it to a certain area or multiple areas of the county? So
Right.
I like that. I like where we're headed with that. So that's good.
What's the total number of water customers we have on our water system currently?
We have over 400 now, and when all of the active projects are over, we'll probably be in the 550, 600 range. So it's all, which is still relatively small, but it's about doubling what we had about 2 years ago. So it's pretty good growth.
And another area too, as we're talking about water, and you're talking about this master meter, the extension went out to the school. I think that there's a lot of homes up in there around Arrowhead, Apache, and that neck of the woods that might want to have the availability of water. And I think that we might need to, if there's funding, for a study to go ahead and declare the possibility of that to occur down the road with funding available through grant. I think that we need to look at that because a future annexation, a satellite annexation, for example, would swag that up since the water is going that direction. Then we will not have water customers, and we got the water line running right there.
Good growth area. That's right.
Nothing here that you need any action on.
Nothing tonight, yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on to our facility planning.
Yes, sir. 2 months ago, there was a discussion about some of our facility needs, and so without getting into we need a new roof on the Red Cross building, some of the things that are important, but relatively speaking, worth talking about at another time. I put some of our more prominent needs on here for tonight for your direction. We have talked a lot over the years about a human services or DSS facility that can place all of our DSS staff under one roof and have, whatever room they need for operations. Again, we're in 3 different sites now. The main building is very full and has been for a while. And so you've recognized that need years ago. We have looked at construction alternatives and costs, and the costs are in the many multiples of millions of dollars. And again, I think the last number we looked at was around 20 plus million, which is a lot of money for any county, but especially a county of our size and resources. And so at that time you said, well, let's defer on that and look at alternatives. And an alternative that has not necessarily been nailed down, but has been discussed here and with some of our partners is the potential for surplus property coming out of this elementary school consolidation. And so this is something that, again, you've talked about. You will need to continue to talk about, of course, with our Board of Education partners as we cross fingers and things for grants for a new school. That will take time. If a grant is awarded soon, hopefully, it will take time to then.
And they'll know by December too.
So it's December 15th?
Yeah.
So we'll know relatively soon, and so again, we're being hopeful. But then there's a process. There is some design going on right now for that, but it's not in high gear yet. It's maybe not even first year. And so once the grant's received, it'll start, and that'll take time. It takes time for those things, and when they're ready to bid, it might be 18 months from now. I don't know, but there's financing involved, local government, all those sorts of things. It'll take time to get construction started, let alone being finished. And then if a school, I'll say when, I'll try to be more, when a school property is presented to you for acquisition, donation, or whatever, schools are not DSS or human services facilities. And so that would have to be made ready for a new life. And so that would take, and again, you do things concurrently. You hire an architect once and so that can take time. So that, at the best case, is 3 or 4 years out. And so I've talked about this to you, but again, things can happen with our partners, but I would recommend not looking to build a new facility, of course, or looking for an alternative. It's focusing on this option. And so, again, working and hoping timelines move faster. I'm hopeful, though, that what we have as far as our facilities, without maybe some minor shuffling here and there, it kind of is what it is. And so I don't anticipate a lot of staff growth over the next 3 or 4 years. If we had to, for some other external reason, we would have to figure out where to put people. There's no more room in that building, of course. And so we would have to find other county-owned assets to move people into. in the interim. So we're trying to make do with what we got is the point for that, and make it hospitable and tolerable. But so that's I'm telling you what you know and you understand, but especially when I talk about the next two items, to remind your constituents and employees and everyone else, this is the best of a plan that I can call a plan. So there's no contract, there's no formal understanding with the Board of Education about this plan, but it's being discussed.
And technically, though, when it ceases to be used for a school, we have the first option, and it does work back to our control.
Right, they have to offer it to the county for purchase or acquisition, whatever it means. And so
I like your word a while ago, donation.
There has to be some negotiated compensation, but it doesn't
$1 a year for 99
it
years.
doesn't
I'm
have to
good
be
with that.
fair market value. So again, that would need to be worked out with our partners, and discussions are ongoing. So as I shift to the two other areas that we have talked about here several times. The first part, again, if somebody in one of our agencies in DSS or Human Services says, well, what about we have needs here? There is a plan. This is, and again, it's not in writing, it's not in ink or blood or anything else, but I am communicating with staff. There is effort to see that they're in a better, different place where it's more suitable. People understand they're being patient. The two other items that are out of all of our challenges are more pressing based on physical capacity and condition. We've talked about are the 911 center and our animal shelter. We saw, Mr. Masters talked about Helene. We saw really for both, in the aftermath of Helene, how both were inadequate for disaster response. And yes, both. For 911 center, again, we are in the lower level of the Marion Police Department. We like the city. We're really good partners with them, and they've been a great landlord. Again, no rent is charged, but we were probably out of space there on about day 2 of moving there. We have 4 telecommunicators typically on shift right now, and a sergeant that is also taking calls. So you have 5 call takers in a relatively small space, plus the 911 manager that typically is in that room as well. You have that room, a small little office, a couple of restrooms, and that's about it. It's not suitable for 2025, definitely not for any sort of growth. Call volume is only increasing. It's only going to increase as we become more of a destination for tourism, for people just passing through, and for current need. And so I'm going to talk about possible solutions together in a second. Animal shelter, we've talked a lot about. Understanding that it can be hard to prioritize a building for cats and dogs when you have a lot of people need that we've talked about tonight. However, it is a responsibility of county government to do this function. That building was opened in 1980. It was built for a much different time, a smaller population, a much different perspective on what was appropriate at the time for animal care and control. And so for those reasons, and never mind the state, it is an inspected facility, and we're inspected at least quarterly, and those inspections we do pass, but not without a lot of struggle at times to keep it up. And so I have met, let's get to solutions. I've talked about CDBG-DR, it's Community Development Block Grant, disaster recovery. I've talked to you about some different funding solutions for this. This has been made available after Helene for Western North Carolina. Asheville received their own appropriation, but the other counties, I guess rural Buncombe County, will apply for funding from the state. And so the state will be making decisions on multifamily housing, which I hope to talk about at some point soon with you. But community infrastructure is what we're talking about here. I met with our grant writer through the Foothills Regional Commission and talked about housing, talked about water lines, talked about all the things under the sun that we like to do, and focused on these two projects. And a DSS building is too big. And so I know that, don't waste your time, but looking at a 911 center and possibly an animal shelter. They're both in, you have to have a tie back to Helene out of these project applications. Both were taxed during Helene, so there's a tie back to it. Where we may not, typically you have to be helping people. Might be more of a stretch for animals, animal shelter, but I've talked to the grant writers and they're looking at both as far as the applicability back to that DR program. So I'm hopefully going down a funding route for one, probably more likely the 911 center, and possibly both with animal shelter included. And what I've talked, I've presented a property on Spalding Road adjacent to the law enforcement center as a possible animal shelter site. But talking with an architect and a civil engineer that has done work for us, no commitments to them, just asking for some support there. Could you fit both of these needs on one piece of property? And
It's similar to what Burke County's doing currently, is that right?
right, they are, I think they've got some distance between those, but what they have bid them at the same time, the same contractor did get both projects. And so what I would recommend tonight, and to get to the ask here, I'm not asking you to commit money or do anything other than to allow us to keep working on grant funding, preferably for both, and to identify the Spalding Road property as a potential site for both next to each other. And that's all I'm asking for tonight. No money for an architect, for an engineer.
So the motion's gonna be what? Just
To authorize
continuation of the conversation.
I'll make a motion for Eddie. I'll make a motion to go ahead and allow staff to proceed forward with exploring the option of the site identified on Spawning Road to see if it would be feasible to put a 911 center and a new animal shelter on that spot, since it does fall into the CDBG Disaster Relief Recovery Program eligibility requirements, and just see what could be done there and report back to the board.
Got moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving into new business. Madam Clerk, we have some board appointments.
Yes, thank you. This is a first reading for Foothills Workforce Development. Nikki Pittman, her term limit expired and she has applied to be reappointed to this board.
Let me just ask a question. Can we waive the?
We can. She's the only applicant, and she's a current board member.
And the next one is the same way, I believe also.
It is, and she's both. The second one's strong in that area. Anyway, I'll make a motion that we go ahead, since these are currently sitting board members who have reapplied, no other person has applied, that we waive the first reading and approve both of these individuals for the boards they applied for.
Second.
Got moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
budget update?
Yes, sir. You have your sales tax and property tax report, as well as a budget printout, and you have some budget amendments in there.
Mr. Vice Chair, make a motion we approve the budget amendments as presented.
Second.
Moving to second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Wood, any administrative items?
We do have a few. For the record, we have some EMS write-offs, several NEVO water system leak waivers. There's a financing resolution for one ambulance and 7 ventilators. There's a reimbursement resolution that we would ask to where we could purchase an ambulance that will then be financed at a subsequent date once it's delivered. And then the last item, I believe it was September of 2024, you approved by vote abandoning a section of Linville Road north of Lake James. The person at DOT asked, said, well, technically we needed a resolution, and we didn't know that at the time, but I've taken a template resolution, just dated it tonight, to make it official.
I'll make a motion to approve the administrative items as presented.
Have a move and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Property tax release, Mr. Wood?
These are very routine. I don't think there was anything that stood out. So these are, again, our releases, refunds, and discoveries in our tax department.
Make a motion we approve the releases, refunds, and discoveries as presented.
Second.
Have a move and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Wood, if you want to give us an update on the opioid settlement.
Yes, sir. Just as a reminder for folks, that McDowell County was one of probably thousands of counties in the country and many municipalities that participated, maybe I shouldn't use past tense, are participating in a multi-jurisdictional lawsuit, probably butchering it. It's not a class action technically, but a lawsuit against opioid distributors, retailers, and manufacturers that has been ongoing in Ohio for about 5 or 6 years, I believe. Mr. Coates can correct me. It had been in litigation for a while, probably with an assumption that it would lead to settlement, which it did. And so the state of North Carolina did something a little bit different than I would have anticipated, but it's not bad, in my opinion, is even the non-participating counties in that lawsuit were encouraged to sign an MOA to where they essentially were participating in everything. So we already were, the Department of Justice in North Carolina encouraged all the non-participating counties to sign an MOA, which they did, and there were some municipalities as well. So we signed an MOA, you approved that, to where we are still involved in the lawsuit. We still approve various settlements at times with different people that are identified to be culpable. And so as part of that MOA, funds are received by the county. They must be spent on various areas to help to cut down on addiction, preferably to opioids, but on different types of substances. There is some more favorable terms if it is opioid related, as opposed to something of less impact or less addiction. And so, be that as it is, after about 3 years, we have been working to really refine the process to where we've been pretty unique, where a lot of our interest here has been to assist local agencies in developing their infrastructure to help in addiction treatment and diversion away from addiction. And so you approved about 2.5 years ago a first tranche of spending, and then earlier this calendar year you approved a second tranche. And I'll list off just a couple of all the entities really. Get back to the question that was raised. You have approved funding for CareNet counseling, $18,750. CareReach, which does peer supports for different agencies, $50,000, and these are for 1 year periods. So it started July this year and goes through June 30 of next year. High Country Community Health received $50,000 to do substance use outreach. Grant Police Department received $50,000 to do peer support in partnership with CareReach. Mission Ministries Alliance received $50,000 to provide recovery housing support. McDowell Partnership for Substance Awareness received a little over $16,000 for recovery development. A lot of that is facilitation through different partners. They did a luncheon recently on with employers. Another program through NCGS for a little over $1,000. Peer support expansion through Western North Carolina Community Health Services. So a lot of this is peer support, which is folks typically with lived experience that are working with people with addiction to try to get them back on the right track, obviously. Internally, we are spending $110,000 on substance use disorder response coordinator. We have an EMS peer support program, again internally, and also funds have been identified for Narcan for our use as well as distribution to the community. So this is a 1 year, it's not recurring, or you could make it longer than a year. We haven't really done that yet, but so all those agencies, it's a contract. We receive quarterly reports from the agencies on their activities. There will be advertised for next Tuesday night. The board is always obviously invited at 6 p.m. at the Emergency Services Headquarters, our annual opioid settlement funding meeting, where we, our staff presents the information I was presented to you, but also give some early reports on what they're doing with the funding. And it's also near a time for the community, of course, as well as the city and town, to provide some input on what people would like to see in future years.
And Mr. Wood, let me ask this question. So in the planning and the presentation phase, so there's a board that presents to our board what the recommendation for the use of the settlement funds would be for that current year, correct? Is that a fair statement?
Right, and we've used different, we've had a committee essentially assembled by our emergency services staff, preferably that do not have a dog in the fight, so they're not judging their own application. So we try to find, like this most recent time, we had some people in the field from outside the county just to kind of help it out and to score based on metrics that they were applying for, and try to make it as objective as possible instead of just, oh, that sounds good. Because while this is not technically taxpayer money, it is money that anytime we receive money, it is taxpayer money, but it's not originating from the taxpayer. It is originating from these corporations. And while it's fun to pick on corporations, we are bound by an MOA with the Department of Justice, as well as a settlement agreement with those companies that we are spending money appropriately. And so the Department of Justice and the School of Government and Association of County Commissioners, if there's a decimal missing or a comma even on any of our things we send them. And so you need to fix that comment because they don't want any of those things to get off kilter.
So there are guidelines that dictate how the money's used, correct?
Absolutely. There's a very
Gotcha. And that's per
MOA.
the Department of Justice and the settlement of the lawsuit.
That's right.
Okay. And that's the reason why I brought it up, because this gentleman, in good faith, had asked me about it. And I thought it'd be good just to help us understand more so we can answer in the public when we're
Absolutely.
it's brought up to us.
It's a great question.
And that Mission Ministry Alliance, that's the homeless shelter.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I've been asked about that a couple times since our last meeting because the 50,000 was not brought up in the last meeting that was given to them. So just to make it clear that they did receive that.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
And let me ask one more time.
Yes, sir.
That meeting that presentation is next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday night, the 18th at 6 p.m., 129 Barnes
That is
Road.
open to the public.
Yes, sir. We'll make sure that's
That's
advertised.
at EMS headquarters.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on to citizen comment.
We have a lady that signed up.
Anybody else? I see we have a closed session on the agenda. Do I hear a move to go into closed?
So moved.
I will mention, to the gentleman's point of being a veteran, all offices are closed tomorrow for Veterans Day. And so, again,
That will include the convenience centers too.
yes, sir. And so, again, we appreciate our veterans here, and we've been doing, I think, some suggestions to do recognition on our Facebook page for that. So.
Okay. We have a move to go into closed session.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We are in closed session. Do I hear a motion to come out of closed
So
session?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.